Are you thinking about switching from acrylics to oils? If you are, I thought it'd be helpful for you to know what to expect. So that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Hi, I'm Layne Johnson. I'm a professional artist and I teach classical painting techniques for landscape painters. Welcome to my studio. My journey with oils and acrylics goes back more than 50 years. Yes, I'm old. When I first began painting as a kid, I used oil paints. But since my studio was my bedroom, within a year I'd switched to acrylics. I kept painting in acrylics and other media throughout my career as a graphic designer and illustrator. But during that time, it was never oils. And when I started illustrating children's books, it was with acrylics and watercolors. Then in 2000, I had a fateful conversation with an art director. He suggested for my next book that I loosen up my style a bit. Maybe try oils? It was the nudge I needed, and I was excited to get back to where I began. So after 25 years of painting with acrylics, I switched back to oils, and I've never looked back. Wow, that's hard to believe. That was 24 years ago. It's probably obvious, but if you've never painted in oils before, they're going to behave differently in a few key ways. That difference is going to be wonderful, but it's different nonetheless. So you might need to make some adjustments in your expectations and approach. Just be patient and give yourself a little bit of time to adjust. Of course, this is true of any transition. But don't worry, if you've been painting with acrylics for any length of time, many things will be similar. Let me preface all the things I'm discussing today by saying, this is all based on my own experience. In my opinion, the number one big difference between acrylics and oils is you don't have to race. You know, acrylics want to dry really fast. There are ways to help with that, but still, with oils, you have the luxury of time. What's so great about that? Well, it's really more about what that time allows you to do. Before we get into the actual differences though, let me reiterate one thing. You do not need to be afraid of oil paints. Paint pigments are the same whether you're using oils, acrylics, or watercolor. It's the binder that varies. For example, the binder for oil paint is plant-based oils. Acrylic polymers are used for acrylics and gum arabic for watercolors. Oil paints won't self-combust any more than the olive oil in your kitchen will. Oil paints don't smell bad. They don't actually have much smell at all. The smell people typically associate with oils is actually the solvent. More on that in a bit. However, you do need to use some common sense when working with certain colors such as the cadmiums. Or just use other colors that are substitutes for cadmiums. Just remember, don't eat your paint or lick your paintbrush. But you shouldn't be doing that no matter what pigments or paints you're using. With that out of the way, here are the top 7 differences you may have to get used to when you begin painting with oils. Number 1, oil paints stay workable longer. You can, however, use a drying medium to speed up the drying time a lot, about 24 hours or less. I use liquid and have for decades. This allows you to have plenty of workable time and still be able to come back to a dry to the touch surface the next day. Number 2, blends are much easier. Since they're easier, you'll have a lot more fun creating those gradient blended skies without having to rush. You'll have to be cautious of overblending though, because that can create muddy colors. Even if you do, no worries. Just stop, let it dry, then come back the next day and go again. Getting used to this just takes some practice. Number 3, it's easier to achieve soft edges. You can still create hard or crisp edges like you can with acrylics, but soft edges are easier with oils. Yes, you can achieve soft edges with acrylics, but it takes more practice. Simply put, oils stay workable longer, and blends are simply easier. Number 4, colors don't shift. If you're expecting that bright red to get darker as it dries, like acrylics do, it won't. Remember, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. That applies here. Number 5, earth tones might sink. While your colors won't shift like acrylics, some of the dark earth tones have a tendency to sink after they dry. This happens when the top layer of oil has been absorbed by the layers underneath, causing the paint to appear dull. This is easily corrected. First, you apply some oil or medium to the area. Let it sit for a bit. Then gently wipe it away. The area will absorb the oil it needs. This will restore the luster so it looks like it did when you first painted it. You can do this anywhere along the way while you paint. Easy peasy. Number 6, you mix your colors with mediums, not water. Mediums can modify or enhance the working properties of your paint. That means mediums can speed or slow the drying time, change the flow, increase paint transparency, or change the surface quality. For example, as I mentioned earlier, liquid will speed up the drying time, while linseed oil will slow it down even further. So it's a good idea to understand the purpose of the different mediums. But to keep it simple, you can just use liquid. That's what we use in all my courses. As you get more experience, you can play around with other mediums. Number 7. The way you rinse and clean your brushes is somewhat different. With oils, you're going to use solvents to remove paint from your brushes rather than water. While I'm painting, all I do is simply wipe my brushes as needed to remove paint. But if I'm changing colors drastically, I rinse the brush. For the most part, you only need to rinse your brushes with solvent when you're done painting to get all the paint out, and then follow that up with a good soap. You don't need to be afraid of using solvents any more than using knives in your kitchen. Just use common sense and handle all your tools properly. And if you're concerned about solvents, there are plenty of non-toxic, solvent-free alternatives for rinsing and cleaning your brushes. I do understand some people's concerns about using solvents while painting. You may be painting in a small space or have children around. If that's the case, water mixable oils are a great solution. They give you all the benefits of oils without the solvent. I did a video on this one, so look for the link up here somewhere. I hope you'll consider giving oils a try. When I shifted from acrylics to oils, it was a game changer for me, and I've heard the same from many other artists. And if you have switched from acrylics to oils, let me know in the comments how you like them. I just wanted to pop in here for a moment and invite you to register to watch my free workshop, Secrets to Painting Beautiful, Realistic Landscapes. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks for joining me in my studio. If you enjoyed this video, you'll also probably enjoy watching the videos I've linked on the screen. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you're ready for more in-depth lessons, consider enrolling on one of my online courses where I teach classical painting techniques for landscape painters. You can find all my classes at laynejohnson.com or click on the link in the description below.